All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. We're happy to have you here for the January SCO webinar, in which we're going to focus on financial aid and funding. I'm excited to see a lot of students on the line today. Looks like we have a mix of people who are prospective students who are considering their options and considering optometry, but haven't quite made it to the point of applying quite yet, maybe thinking about doing it in the near future. And then we have a handful of students as well who are planning to enroll and attend here at SCO next year. And we welcome you all, and we think this is a great topic for everybody, no matter where you are at in the process, and we hope you find the information very valuable. So without further ado, let's kick it off. I'd like to first start by introducing the hosts of the webinar today. My name is Rebecca Griffin, and I'm the Student Services and Admissions Officer here. So I work in the admissions department. I help students like yourselves who are considering their options for optometry school and trying to figure out how to apply and what to do once going through the admissions process and getting ready to start the program. With me, I have a couple of folks from our financial aid office, so I'm really grateful could be here this afternoon and thankful that they're willing to chat with you all. It's no surprise, because that's what they do. They love chatting with students and giving you lots of information and guidance. So our Director of Financial Aid will speak with you all. Her name is Cindy Garner, and she's been here for a number of years advising students in the financial aid office. And we also have Mike Gerard on the line, who will speak to you as well. Between them, they have a wealth of knowledge and information and have been in the finance world for many years, so they have a lot to share. And we're going to start by talking about financial aid, and that will be the bulk of the presentation this afternoon. But at the end, after they're finished speaking, I will talk a little bit about the scholarship program. Since some of you are going into the program, you've gone through the application process already, I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about the scholarship program, but it is something I do want to highlight, especially for those of you who are still considering your options and haven't gone down the road of applying quite yet. Before we begin, one quick note. I would like to make you all aware of some upcoming events we have scheduled. We have our webinar series lineup posted online, so this is the first of many that we'll have this spring semester. In February, we have scheduled a webinar called A Day in the Life of an Optometry Student. And I have 3 students who have agreed to present, then a couple of first-year students and a third-year student. So you'll get to hear from their perspective about what it's like to be in optometry school. So another great topic no matter where you're at in the process. And for those of you who haven't had the chance yet to visit our campus, I'd like you to be aware of our open house event that will be in March. You can see the banner ad there for Discover Optometry. It'll be on Saturday, March 24th. And it's open to anybody who's interested in visiting campus. We will have current students talk to you about their experience in the program. You'll be able to chat with admissions officers. You will hear from some of our faculty about the field of optometry in general. And you'll get to go on a tour of our campus and our clinical facilities. So it'll be an action-packed day. It's a free event, and you are welcome to bring up to 2 guests with you. And you'll get food and all sorts of things like that. So we really encourage you to think about it. You can see more information and learn about the registration process on our website. We are open for registration for Discover Optometry. And in terms of registering for the rest of the webinar series throughout the semester, you'll get emails like you did for this one with those webinar registration instructions. So just wanted to shout out about those events since I have your attention now. And next we'll go ahead and dive right in, and Cindy's going to kick it off with the discussion about financial aid.
Okay, hello and welcome to the webinar. We're going to start first with the agenda. Things that you will be learning today is how to apply for financial aid, how much can you borrow here at SCO, what types of aid do we offer at SCO, how and when do you receive your loan funds, and also we have a debt management information section at the end. So I'll go into how do you apply for financial aid. If you've already been accepted, you should have received an email from the financial aid office with the documents listed there. And you can just email or mail or fax those to us. The fax number is there. If you have not received these documents and you have been accepted, please email me and I will resend those to you. And my email is cgarner@sco.edu. And that will also be on a separate slide toward the end. Also, there is some online information that you'll have to do. First, you'll need to get a FSA ID. You and your parents will need to do that. And then you'll fill out your FAFSA. Many of you may have already done this. And then you'll need an MPN and entrance counseling. And all of that is done online, and we will prompt you as to when it's time to do that. So we'll go into the next slide now. How much aid can you borrow? This is determined by your budget. You can borrow no more than your total budget, but you must also look at the maximums per loan type to see how much you can borrow. The estimated tuition for 18-19, and this is a loose estimate. It has not been talked about at all. I've just gotten an estimate from the finance office. This shows your non-regional and regional tuition, so it depends on if you are, if you don't know what regional is, then you're probably not regional. So most of the non-regional have to get more loans than the regional because they do get help from their state. You can see here what the total budget is along with the living expenses. And keep in mind that first year students are only enrolled 8 months, so we include a total of $14.75 to your budget per month for living expenses, and $625 of that is your rent or mortgage, and you will have to submit a copy of your lease. So May, June, and half of July, after your first year, you will get no loan funds. You will have to come up with money on your own to take care of those months. So you may be able to participate in federal work study. We do have some students that work after their first year during the summer, and that is definitely a possibility. So keep that in mind. And now for living expense budgets. Like I said before, housing is $625 a month, and that's the maximum. So as you can see, the total here for your entire budget is $14.75 a month, and that's if you're a single student. But students that do have children can get a higher budget per month, and you can see that that's $22.10 per month if you have a child. If you're just married and no children, then you still are under the single expense budget. So keep that in mind. And like I said, the housing is $625 a month. But if you decide to spend more than that, you do have to make up the difference. But keep in mind that you're getting a total of $14.75, and maybe your utilities won't be as high or your food, so you may be able to get move some of your money around to take care of the housing. But that's something that you'll have to look at on your own. And we do require a copy of your lease by September 15th. Now, the maximums per loan type, the HPSL, this amount is $31.60 for the year, but the only drawback is you must provide parental income information on your FAFSA, and you use year 2016 taxes, your parents have to include their taxes on your FAFSA as well. That is why they need a FSA ID also. So keep that in mind. If you don't think your parents, if you think your parents make too much money and you won't be eligible, you do not have to include their information. But a lot of our students are surprised when they do enter it and they are eligible. So keep that in mind. And then the next loan type that you'll receive is the direct Stafford unsubsidized. And for the first year, you'll get $40,500 maximum. Each year that you're here, that amount does increase, so keep that in mind. If you still need more money, and that would be non-regional students only, um, the direct Grad Plus is available for you. It is based on your credit, so they do check your credit before they will disperse the money to us. You can also look at some private loans. Sometimes students can find a private loan with interest rate that is lower than the actual federal Grad Plus loan. Now you see your total budget here, so you know if you're regional, you won't need your Grad Plus because you'll have at least your unsubsidized and HPSL if you qualify for that. But if you are non-regional, and you need money to cover the entire budget, you will need to get either a Grad Plus or a private loan. Now, what if you need more than we can offer you? There's ways to increase your budget. There's certain things that we can add into your budget, such as auto repairs, your health insurance, medical expenses such as co-pays or prescriptions. If you buy a computer while you're here, you can add that in. Anything that you can think of, run it by us if you're in a situation where you need more money, because you may be surprised the things that we can allow. But there are a few things that we absolutely cannot allow, and that is car payments, credit card payments, and pet expenses. So keep that in mind, that we cannot add that to your budget at all. Now, the types of aid at SCO, we have the HPSL, like I mentioned before. You do have to use your parents' income for 2016, and it has a 5% fixed interest rate, a 12-month grace period, which means no interest accrues while you're in school, and it also means that you don't have to start making payments until 12 months after graduation. So keep that in mind. And we are the lender for this loan, but ECSI is the loan servicer, and we'll cover all of that once you are determined eligible, and we'll show you the website that you have to go to sign your MPN and that type of thing. Now the next one is the direct unsubsidized loan. It has a 6% fixed rate. No, the interest begins accruing immediately, and all through school and repayment it's steadily accruing interest. So there is no time where there's no interest. The grace period is 6 months, so around the 1st of November, that's when your payments will start on this loan. Every loan disbursement that they send us, like if you get a disbursement each semester, they do withhold an origination fee, and on the direct unsubsidized, that's 1.066, but the federal direct origination fee is 4.264, so that's quite a bit of what they're taking from your disbursement. So in that case, you may want to look at a private loan, because sometimes you can find one that has no origination fee. but the direct loan is 7% fixed interest rate, has no grace period, so you start making payments right after graduation. And like I said before, it is credit worthy. And if you don't have credit yet, an endorser may be required, and most of our students will use their parents or ask their parents if they can use them, and that way they can get that loan. Now, the federal work study, this is part of your financial aid, just like if you're eligible for $50,000 a year and you borrow $40,000, then if you want to do work study, you have money left over where you can, use your work study. And most of the jobs are on campus. We do have a few community service jobs that are off-campus tutoring at middle and high schools. The pay ranges from 13 to 17 per hour, and that is based on what type of job you have. So if you're tutoring off campus, it's 14, and most jobs are going to be 13 an hour. But once you're in your second year, if you're chosen to tutor through the school, that does pay 17 per hour. And you are paid monthly by direct deposit. So that's just something that you want to think about if you're, interested in working a few hours a week. I think our work studies work around 5 to 8 hours per week, so it's not too much. And a lot of the jobs you can study while you work, and those go pretty quickly. All right, other aid that is available, if you have veteran benefits, those are available. You just have to let us know that you'll be applying for those. We also have service obligation programs through the military. If you have an Arkansas regional seat, you can be eligible for a $5,000 a year forgivable loan. And North Carolina has a $14,000 a year loan. You get $7,000 in the fall and $7,000 in the spring, but you must be a North Carolina resident and have at least a 3.2 GPA. So just keep those in mind if you are looking for more programs that are available. Now the FAFSA. This is just things you need to know about the FAFSA. You'll need to know our school code, and that's shown there. You need to include your parents' income if you're interested in HPSL. You can use the IRS data retrieval tool on the FAFSA to upload tax information. So if you have a FSA ID, you can do that, and then your parent, if they have an FSA ID, can also upload their information. If you were not born in the U.S., you have to enter your alien registration number, and you also have to give us a copy of a document proving that you're a U.S. citizen. Most of the time, we can use passports. And the the FAFSA tells us what your expected family contribution is. It's usually 0 for students that are not married, that have, been in school for the last few years and have not worked that much. We do not expect your family to contribute. This is just a number that the Department of Ed provides for us to tell us how much need-based aid you're eligible for. So just keep that in mind. All right, how and when do you receive your money? When you receive your award information via email, you'll be instructed to accept awards online through NetPartner, which is our student portal. You can also go there to see if you have any documents missing or anything that we're waiting on before we can award you. once you accept the loans, we'll send the loans to your loan servicer. That's how we get the funds from them. Once the loan servicer has received those, the funds will be dispersed to the school 10 days prior to registration each year. Now, it takes accounting a few days to get your funds on your account and to disperse any overage that you have borrowed for living expenses. So you will get your money for living expenses that first week of school. It's usually the very first day of the semester. So we are not supposed to disperse before the first day. So just keep that in mind. And we cannot disperse any loans in August until it's the first day of registration. Now, what do you need to know? You need to bring a copy of your Social Security card with you, because if you decide to do WorkStudy, you will have to provide that so that they can pay you. If you check out NSLDS, you can see your loan balance. If you had any undergrad debt, you can, go there and see what kind of debt you may have and who your loan servicers are. Some apartments require proof of income. They will accept your award letter as proof. So if you haven't received your award letter when your apartment is asking for it, just give us a call and we can, we can go ahead and get that out to you so that you can get the apartment that you're looking at. And here's the link to the student portal that I was just speaking about, where you can see what we may be missing. And also, you'll need to log in NetPartner, and your ID is your Social Security number, and then you request a password through NetPartner. If you have any trouble at all with this, you can call my office and we can help you. And if we can't help you, then our Information Services Department can help you. And you will receive an email once you've been awarded, so make sure that you check that and accept or decline the awards. And if you want to change them at all, maybe you don't need as much in the fall and you'll need more in the spring, just call us and we can work that out over the phone and then have you accept the awards once we have them like you asked for. So all of that information you need to keep in your head. And if for some reason you don't bring your Social Security card and then you decide to do be a student worker, your parents can fax that to you, and then you can give us a copy of it that way. So don't think your life is over if you leave it at home. All right, next slide. Now this is the contact information for our office. We have 2 counselors as well as myself, and all of our information is listed here. And now it's time for the debt management session.
Thank you, Cindy. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to just go over a few slides to try to help with the budgeting part and just the thought of how to get through that first year for our first year students. And so just if you look at the following slides together, just trying to help with ideas that we have come up with, that students have shared with us, just to be able to help in all these areas. So we're trying to help with that May, June, and half of July is our goal. And so we encourage our students to come in, sit down, talk to us, email us so that we can help out. And so a reminder would be about budgeting and looking at a personal budget. And there's applications out there and sites out there like Every Dollar Counts, so that you can look at ways to lower your costs, be able to manage how you're spending your money and seeing where your dollars are going. And so there's an app out there. You can put it right on your phone and be able to kind of keep up with things as well, because we want to make sure that you're getting help and realizing all your spending decisions in that first year, so that when the stress of the classes is out there, then hopefully this will not be something that will bother you, so that you can have comfort that it's taken care of. On the next slide, we talk about how can I budget for my first year. Well, we always like to talk about rent and the fact that if you do have roommates, it can help you keep a lot of your budget items under your budget that we give you. It helps with the rent, the utilities, food. If you look at the next part there, food, drinking lots of water, packing a lunch. I have a daughter and her boyfriend that they come in and meal prep on Sunday for the whole week, and they share the grocery bill and are able to save some water there. And they take just a few minutes, take some time, do some meal prep. So maybe you could do that with roommates or yourself just to save some dollars. Every little bit adds up. The example we give there is just the water drinkers, and folks that will drink the water and instead of soft drinks, etc., you could save, $130, $140, $150 a month. Every little bit adds up. Utilities, I've heard some of our students talk about that they don't do cable, they just do internet and Netflix. There's so many things that are available these days that you can get, cheaper than maybe a cable package. So again, just something to think about. Transportation-wise, we talk about possibly, since we encourage roommates, and they're going to be folks that you're going to want to study with as you go through all the parts of being at our college and going through the study and what's necessary. So we talk about carpooling, and also getting gas cards from some of the local places around here so that you could save over time on your gas cost. And then we always talk about, with technology today, using apps to reduce cost. There's a lot of different apps we're going to look at in the next slide that can help with costs on food, entertainment, and other things that can really help you out. And so what we did was we just threw some recommended apps out there for you. Groupon has oil changes, entertainment, clothes, things like that may come up, and you go, wow, the time was just right. And a lot of them we have found out that with coupons, if you're able to pull coupons up from different places, they're able to, if you bring it in, even though it's expired, sometimes they will go ahead and honor it just because of the fact that you recognize their business. Get My Perks, all these other ones, retail, everybody loves their Starbucks, everybody loves Target, so, we want to make sure that those are out there as well. Finding the best gas prices in town. Living Social is really a good one for finding events in your area. Some of them may cost, some of them may not. And so it gives you an opportunity to see things that are going on in the community and surrounding areas. Campus Specials has an app that talks about restaurants and eateries, and sometimes they will offer specials to college students. Didn't want to forget the folks that love to play the games and the gamers out there. So GameFly is out there with some opportunities. And then as far as when Miss Cindy was talking about earlier with, doctor's bills and things are going to happen over the 8-12 months that you're here, we have prescriptions with GoodRx may be cheaper than health insurance and other things that are used out there, and can save you some money there just to keep a few dollars staying in your pocket. So as always, there's probably lots more, and we learned a lot of this, again, from our own students and just trying things out and hearing word of mouth. On the next slide, you'll see some opportunities with budgeting and spending tips. One of the best things, like I referred to earlier, is talking to our students that have been here. Talk to the second and third year students. They will be able to share ways with you on how they've cut costs, and they've done the trial and error, and so they know things that can be done, and they can recommend things to you and recommend opportunities and options to help you cut your costs. So take their wisdom for sure. Be careful with impulse purchases, even with using apps and things like that and going to Amazon. You still need to make sure you're like either waiting overnight or really thinking through the cost of what you're purchasing. Be diligent in that first year so that you're able to make it through the whole 12 months and be confident in your decisions. And again, if you need any answers or any questions or wisdom, that is what our office is here for. And then some ways to keep busy to those downtimes and those few downtimes that you'll have. For excess spending, a lot of folks do movies on laptops. There's a lot of exercise opportunities in and around the apartment areas where a lot of our students live. Free local events we mentioned earlier, volunteer opportunities will be coming about, discount tickets to museums, zoo here locally, etc. Our zoo is one of the best in the country. And then also, I didn't put this on the slide, but we have professional sports teams as well, and we get a lot of discount tickets run through the college and through the area for our baseball and basketball teams as well. So lots of opportunities. Main thing I would want to say is just continue to tell your money where to go instead of it telling you where it wants to go. And again, if you ever have any questions, please come by our office. We would love to help any and all students out, or just give us a shout by email, and we'll do everything we can for you. So we appreciate your time today, and give it back to Miss Rebecca.
All right, well, thank you so much, Cindy and Mike. That was some really great feedback, some good stuff for me to remember too. And before we wrap up and we will open it up for questions, I wanted to take just a couple minutes to talk about our scholarship program. And this is really for students who are still prospectives and haven't gone through the application process yet. And the reason I say that is because you can see in that first bullet point on the slide that all incoming students are considered for scholarships based on their application for admission. So if you've already been accepted, you've already submitted your application, you've done what you need to do to be considered for scholarship. For those of you who are prospective students and you want a little bit more information about funding opportunities to help bring the costs and the expense and your debt down, do understand that we have a scholarship program here at SCO. We do consider all incoming students for scholarships. There is no separate application required. We look at the same file that we review when we consider whether or not to admit you to the school based on those standard admissions credentials, things like your experience in the field, your GPA, your OAT, your involvement in extracurriculars, as well as how well you did during your interview. You hear pretty quickly. We do a rolling admission cycle here at SCO. So once you come in through your interview, you do normally hear back within about a week whether or not you've been admitted. And the scholarship notice would come shortly thereafter. So you would always know whether or not you're being offered a scholarship by the time that we ask you to commit to coming here to SCO. There are really only a few exceptions to that. If a student is offered a scholarship and declines, meaning their scholarship becomes available, we would consider giving that to a student who had already committed. But otherwise, we do endeavor to let everybody know about their scholarship awards by the time they would need to make their decision. So how much scholarship do we have available? Well, students who are incoming are considered for scholarships that range, this is actually very new information. The scholarships now range for incoming students anywhere from $1,000 to $20,000, and that's a per student per year basis. So for the current applicant cycle, the max scholarship was $15,000. But we've just been told that the institution is trying to reallocate some additional funds towards scholarships for incoming students. So it's likely that the max amount for scholarships for years in the future, in the near future, will be that $20,000. So if you're awarded that grant, you get that grant every year that you're a student. So for all 4 years here at SCO, and that can really help to significantly drive down the cost of tuition and the amount that you have to incur. The scholarship support is made possible by the institution, by SCO, as well as generous donations from many of our alumni. And I think that's a real testament to our school and the good experience that our students have here, that they leave the program and do all that they can to support additional students to go through their experience. So we're very appreciative of all of the donations from our alumni. About 55 to 60 students in the incoming class for the future cycles will be considered for a scholarship, and it's important to note that we do prioritize non-regional students for scholarships. So students who are not benefiting from reduced tuition through the contract seat program, which I'll talk about in just a minute, those are the ones that we want to consider for scholarships, because those are the ones that are going to pay the full non-regional tuition amount. And then just a quick note that if you're not awarded a scholarship as an incoming student, or even if you are, there will be additional awards that you'll be considered for based on your performance in the program. So how well you do in the didactic classes and in the clinic. There are a number of awards that are offered during our convocation every year to current students in the program. They generally don't go quite as high in amount as the incoming student grants, and they wouldn't be on a yearly basis moving forward, but it's still a pretty generous amount that our students are given, and anything helps, right? So just to make a quick note about our contract seat program, you heard a little bit about regional versus non-regional tuition throughout the presentation, and that relates to our contract seat programs. So as a private institution, we do not have traditional in-state or out-of-state tuition. We do get support from several states near us, and of course the one that we're in, Tennessee, to provide reduced tuition, so to provide a subsidy for a certain number of students from each of those states. You can see the list of states here that offer a contract seat program, and you can see the amounts based on this current academic year, as to how much that the tuition is reduced to for students from those states. Do know that these are limited spots. We can't offer contract seats to every student from Tennessee. We have other states you can see here that are competitive, and it ranges from year to year, so not every state is competitive every year. But in some cases, we unfortunately do run out of the number of contract seats that the states have made available to us, and they do become somewhat competitive. And we would review your candidacy for a contract seat much like we do for scholarships, so based on your admissions credentials. So I just wanted to make that quick note. I know that that was a lot that I packed into just a couple minutes, but I wanted you all to be aware of that. We are happy to open it up for questions at this time, so you can type any questions that you have into the box you see there on your GoToWebinar screen. And we'll spend some time answering these questions. And you also see our contact information there, so make sure you jot this down because we encourage you to reach out to us at any time with questions that you have. You can email us, you can call us, whatever floats your boat. And a little bit more information about those events that I mentioned at the beginning, our webinar series and our Discover Optometry. All right, so I see some questions coming in. Let's take a look here. Okay, so the first question, are the 55 to 60 scholarships that are given to incoming students coming directly from SCO or elsewhere? Great question. Thank you for that, Ryan. The answer to your question, if I understand it correctly, is these are scholarships that are being offered to you by SCO. So you're not applying to like a nonprofit or an external organization. Like I mentioned, the funds come from the institution, but also from many of our alumni. So we receive donations to be able to fund our scholarships, but we administer all of those scholarships that are in that range. All right, so let's see. Next question, why is North Carolina not considered a regional state? You know what, Jeffrey, that's a good question, and I'm not really sure the specific logistics behind that question. I don't know financially if you guys do, but the regional contracts are made available to us by those states. So it's those states that get to decide whether or not they want to offer funding to us. So that's why those states that you see are listed there.
Rebecca.
Yes.
A few years ago, they were considered regional, but they decided to change the way they do things and offer it as a loan, to be a forgivable loan. And it was only $8,500 when it was a regional.
Okay,
seat.
Thank you.
So.
Thanks for that. Yeah, and you guys saw that information about that loan earlier in the presentation, so thanks for that. All right, so we have a question. According to the financial aid packet I received during my interview, I see that the financial aid application materials are to be mailed to incoming students beginning mid-January. Has that happened yet?
We have emailed those. They are emailed, and if you have not received it, just send me an email and I will shoot it right out to you.
All right, thank you. Question, what percentage of your students are married or have kids? Good question. I have the statistic on the number of students that are married. So I'm looking at our profile of the 2017 entering class. And of the 136 that we accepted, 17 of them were married. Cindy, do you guys have an idea of the number of students that have children?
I think about half of those do.
Of those married. Okay. Thanks. All right, a question. Can we get the PowerPoint from this presentation emailed to us? Absolutely, Hannah. We will do that for everybody who registered today. We also are recording this session, and we will post the recording to our YouTube page. So I will include the link in that same email. All right. Another question. I'm a new incoming student for this year. I have not received my financial aid packet yet. Will it be emailed or mailed out to me? And I think, Cindy, you just answered that, right? If they haven't received it, they should email you. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. A question. It says, my daughter's FAFSA filled out with her as an independent showed her only available for about $20,000 for the unsubsidized Stafford loan. Why would it not be the $40,500?
The FAFSA will tell you what the average school can award, but we're actually an Old Hill school, which is a different type of health profession loan. And when that loan went away, we are actually able to give $20,000 more in unsub. So that's where we come up with the $40,500.
All right, great, thanks. A question, is there a separate application that needs to be filled out for the SCO contract seat program? The answer to that is no, you do not need to fill out a separate application. I will say that if you are awarded a contract seat, you do have to go through a process of verifying your residency in that particular state, and the process for doing so is different for each state. We do have some information. We can't really help you to do that. We look to you to be able to verify your residency in those states, but we can give you the information about who you can contact and what you need to do. I will say too at this point that in all cases, but especially if you want to be competitive for scholarships and contract seats, because we do rolling admissions and we offer contract seats and scholarships starting at the beginning of the cycle until we run out, essentially, it benefits you to apply as early on in the cycle as possible. So, of course, you have more chance, more availability of those funding options. All right, another question. When taking out loans through SCO, do we have to take out for an entire semester, or may this be done month by month?
You can request your loans month by month, but you need to make sure that you request enough during the months of registration so that you'll have enough to pay your fees here plus your living expenses for that month.
Great. A couple more questions for you, financial aid. One is, and maybe you have a sense of this, maybe not, but do many students receive outside scholarships, and do we know of any that we would recommend for optometry students? Cindy, do you see a lot of students that are receiving scholarships through your office? Well, would you see that in their budget?
We do have students that receive those, but mostly those are handled by institutional advancement. They have companies they deal with that offer scholarships. You can also check FastWeb. They have tons of scholarships you can apply for.
Okay, great.
But yeah, other than that, that's all I know.
And are there specific private loans that SCO students often use?
Well, a lot of our students do go through their churches. There's a Walmart Vision Plan that's a scholarship. I mean, just check everywhere. Check companies, that maybe your parents work for, and scholarships can come from anywhere.
And what about those private loans? Do you see a commonality between private loan financiers? Is another question.
Most of the private loans are through Sallie Mae or Navient or Great Lakes. Most of our students use them because it seems like the interest rate's a lot lower.
Great. All right, so another question from Will, not necessarily pertaining to financial aid, but as an incoming student, when does it seem like students, especially out-of-state students, start moving to Memphis? It varies. Well, I'll say that I think the majority of students will move in a week or two before orientation, but a fair number will move maybe about a month or so in advance just to find more time to settle in and get to know the city. So certainly the bulk would be maybe a week or two. But one thing to note to everybody out there, I know those of you who are accepted will know about our housing fair, but we do have a housing fair here at SCO because we do not provide dormitory or any kind of housing options on campus. All of our students have to find their own housing, but we do provide a lot of resources to help students find great housing in the area. A lot of our students live in the same area of the city in a place called Mud Islands. There's some really beautiful apartment complexes. And in fact, Memphis is one of the places that has very, very affordable costs of living. So you can find some really beautiful stuff. I lived in a very, very much a college town before I moved to Memphis. And I can say that the place I live in now is far more luxurious, and I spend far less. So you can get some really nice stuff. And that's a good thing to understand about how SCO helps you to keep your debt down because of the low cost of living. All right, a couple more questions. So one is, I'm interested in the HPSL financial aid and have already submitted my FAFSA, but I'm married. Is it still required for me to include my parents' income?
Yes, it is. That is a rule from the Department of Health and Human Services, and we've been fighting with them for years, and they just will not give up. So every student has to use their parents' income unless their parents are deceased.
Okay. All right, and another question, do most of your students have a car? If so, how much does it cost to park on campus? Is public transportation common for students to use? I will say probably the majority of students do have a car because the majority of students are living maybe about 10, the area of town I mentioned is popular for students, Mud Island, is about 10-15 minutes away. We do have plenty of parking here on campus, so we like to encourage carpooling, and that's a great way to cut down on gas expense. So we love it when students can carpool, but there are enough spots available on campus for all of our students, and it is free to park. So because of that reason, there isn't a lot of use of public transportation, and the unfortunate fact is that we don't have a ton of really super fantastic public transportation here in Memphis because it's actually so easy to drive around and find parking. There's not a ton of traffic like you see in a lot of bigger cities, so it's easy to drive around. There are some apartment complexes that are close enough to SCO to be able to walk, so some of our students who if you're considering going to a place and not taking a car, you could look at some of those apartment complexes that are within walking distance. And of course, you meet a lot of classmates who, if you ever need to do a big trip to the grocery store, would, I'm sure, be happy to help you get there in their car and transport all your stash of groceries back. So not necessarily super important for you to bring a car, but most students do. All right, another question. Does the Net Partner Portal currently show any financial aid requirements that we may have for the fall at this point in time?
We have not gone live with that yet. It should be ready within a week, I would say.
Great. All right, and a question about scholarships. How long will it take to be notified for any possible scholarship opportunities? We do a rolling consideration for scholarship as we do for acceptance. So in probably 95% of cases, if your deposit deadline has passed and you were not notified about a scholarship, you probably were not chosen to receive a scholarship. So we do try and review and inform students if they've been accepted or if they've been awarded a scholarship by the time that their deposit deadline rolls around. And then a question, what do you do during the housing fair? Can you email us more information about that, please? We are preparing the full agenda for the housing fair, which will be April 6th and 7th for our newly admitted class. So you'll get that if you've been admitted within the next few days. What you'll do, you have some optional tours at some apartment complexes nearby. You will come to campus. We'll have a lot of icebreaker activities for you to get to know the others in your class. And of course, if you're looking for a roommate, you can try and see how you jive with others and see if you can find someone who you could see yourself living with. So we'll do a lot of icebreaker activities. We have a housing expo where we invite representatives of apartment complexes from across the city to come and give you information about their opportunities for housing. We have a student panel where current students talk about where they live, what they love about where they live, what they don't like, what they would recommend. We have lots of food, so we'll have a BBQ dinner. We will go to a Grizzlies game for those that want to. And then we do some group tours. So we put you on buses and take you to 4 different complexes in different areas of the city. So that's loose. I might have missed a couple things, but that's the bulk of what you'll do during the housing fair. If you are interested and you're a prospective student, you haven't been or you haven't gone through the process yet and you want to know what our housing fair looks like, send me an email and I will forward you the schedule of what it looks like for this year. All right. Another question. I received a financial aid packet. Is it imperative that I return all the documents as soon as possible? Is the loan amount that I might be awarded dependent on how quickly I apply?
We do run out of the HPSL loan, so if you're applying for that, the sooner the better. But if you don't think you'll be eligible and aren't submitting parents' income, then June 1st is soon enough.
Okay. Great, thank you. All right, that was the last of the question. Unless there's any other out there, any other questions? All wonderful thoughts and questions. Thank you all. Call it going once, going twice. All right. Well, thank you guys for attending. Thank you again, Cindy and Mike, for being here and sharing your wisdom. We appreciate it. And like I said, I will share the PowerPoint and I'll share the link to the recording. And any questions that you guys out there have along the way, reach out and let us know. That's what we're here for.
Thank you,
All right.
Rebecca.
Good evening, everyone.